Oh, so you thought that simply ignoring a woman would make her chase after you, huh? Well, another one of those illusions the internet throws in your face, and you, being the good naive guy that you are, fell for it, right? I was a fool like that too. I heard the same nonsense. Ignore her, and she'll chase you. Of course, I tried it, and guess what? Nothing. Just silence, frustration, and a bruised ego. But hold on, the problem wasn't the tactic. The problem was you. I didn't understand anything back then, and chances are you don't understand it either. Now, listen up, because by the end of this video, I'll explain what you're doing wrong. You're going to understand the true psychology of women and finally learn how to ignore them in a way that makes them obsessed. Yes, obsessed. But if you think it's just about sitting back and crossing your arms while waiting for a miracle to happen, it's time to wake up. If you came here thinking I'm going to be soft on you, sorry to break it to you, you clicked on the wrong video. Today is the day you're going to hear what no one else has the guts to tell you to your face. If you're tired of being ignored, walked all over and treated like a second option, it's time to wake up. In this video, I'll show you, without filters or sugarcoating, why you're always falling behind, and the truth is harsh. The problem is you. So get ready, because there's not going to be any sugarcoating, and the only thing that's going to hurt more than the truth is if you keep living this mediocre life. Do you really want to change? Pay attention, because what's coming might be the wake-up call you needed. Let's get started. Number 1, the real art of ignoring a woman without being pathetic. Sit down, because I'm going to give you a reality check that you probably won't like. Do you really think that ignoring a woman is just about not responding to a few messages or stopping calling her? Buddy, if that's how you're playing it, you've already started off losing badly. Truly ignoring has nothing to do with these superficial actions of a spoiled child. It's a mindset issue, but I bet you're still far from understanding that. It's no use leaving her on red if deep down, you're pulling your hair out for a response from her. Truly ignoring is not needing her validation at all. And listen, it's not about pretending you don't care, because pretending is for amateurs. It's about genuinely not caring. And guess what? Women pick up on that from miles away. They smell insecurity like a predator smells prey. Do you know the mistake 99% of guys make? They ignore on the surface but are sweating bullets inside. They think that ignoring for a few hours will make her break down and run after them. And when she doesn't make a peep, they panic and go back to begging for attention. Congratulations, you just exposed how needy and desperate you are. There's nothing more repulsive to a woman than that. The key, my friend, is simple. Truly ignoring is a state of mind. When you finally understand that you don't need her approval for anything, that's when you win the game. When your life revolves around you and not around getting crumbs of her attention, that's when things change. Not because you ignored her with a cheap tactic, but because you reached a level of detachment that few guys ever do. And it's at that moment that she'll realize what she's losing, not because of your childish games. Number 2, neediness is your worst enemy, and you don't even notice. It's time to give you that slap in the face. If you think you're not needy, I'm sorry, but you're fooling yourself. Neediness is a silent plague that seeps into your actions and words. It's there when you call 3, 4 times, hoping she'll give you some sign of life, or when you can't stop thinking about what she's doing, who she's with, and why. And let's not forget the classic, the guy who does everything to please, afraid that any wrong move will make her run away. Do you know what this screams to her? Desperation. Yes, the more you try, the more you insist, the more she'll pull away. Every second you spend thinking about her, investing your energy, your time, and even your money, is another brick in the wall she'll build between you two. And look, the math here is simple. The more you invest, the more you show that you need her. And the clearer that becomes, the easier it is for her to ignore you without a second thought. Now, pay attention, because I'm going to tell you what really catches a woman's attention. No, it's not a bouquet of flowers or that super expensive dinner you're struggling to pay for. Much less those sappy good morning texts you send every day. What's really going to make her look at you differently is your calculated indifference. When you show that, with or without her, your life is rolling along just fine. That's when the game changes. Women are biologically attracted to men who have options, who ooze confidence, not desperation. If you're acting like a needy puppy, buddy, you've already lost. But when she realizes that you treat her as an option, not as the center of your universe, that's when she starts looking at you differently. Number 3, the psychology behind detachment, or how to stop being a needy puppy. I'm going to tell you a secret that many guys just don't get. When you ignore a woman the right way, you're tapping into one of her most primal instincts. Yes, my friend, Women are biologically programmed to feel attracted to men who don't need them, to those who have total control over their emotions and, guess what, over their own lives. When you start treating her as if she's just one more among many, even if your options are zero, you trigger something deep in her mind. And no, it's not some cheap game. It's about understanding how things really work. When you reach a level of emotional detachment where your life doesn't revolve around winning over that woman, you automatically become much more attractive. Why? Because deep down, every woman wants to feel like she has to win you over. They don't want a guy who's desperate, begging for attention at every corner. Now, swallow this. The less you care, the more she will. I know it sounds cruel, even unfair, but that's how it works. It's that inverse dynamic that makes guys' heads explode. Women want what they can't easily have, period. And when you truly reach that level of emotional detachment, you become just that. A challenge. So, drop that habit of always pleasing her, sending messages every 5 minutes, always ready to solve any problem she has. The secret here is to disconnect. The more you focus on yourself, on improving your own life, the more she will start chasing after you. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you finally understood what really sparks attraction. She doesn't want a needy puppy. She wants a lion who doesn't settle for crumbs. Number 4, how to identify and overcome neediness before it sinks you for good. Now that you understand the basics of how neediness is a true repellent, let's dig a little deeper. You might be thinking, oh, I don't send 1,000 messages, so I'm good, right? Wrong. Neediness is much sneakier than that, and it hides in things you don't even notice. It's in your micro-expressions, the way you act around her, that abandoned puppy look when she takes too long to reply. Every time you feel that corrosive anxiety because she didn't give you the attention you were hoping for, it's your neediness screaming. Here's the point. This neediness is an internal problem born from your deepest insecurities, that pathetic fear of losing or not being good enough. And believe me, she sees it from a mile away with a radar sharper than any lie detector. So it's useless to just change your superficial actions like stopping sending messages or pretending not to care. That's cheap makeup.
You need to solve the root problem, your mentality.
But how do I do that? Simple. Not easy, but simple. Truly value yourself. Focus on your goals, on what makes you a better, more complete person. When you stop depending on her approval to feel that you have any value, when you start seeing your own value independently, neediness disappears. And that's when the game changes. She will notice that you're no longer that idiot who begs for attention, who lives on scraps to feel good. And believe me, that changes everything. She'll feel, without you having to move a muscle, that now she's the one who needs to win you over. If you're tired of being treated like an idiot, of being the doormat she steps on and then throws away without a second thought, then it's time to wake up. Take a look at the digital book linked in the description of this video. After reading it, you'll learn how to be cold and calculating, how to leave no room for disrespect, and how to master the art of putting any woman in her place. Enough with swallowing disrespect and humiliating yourself. Start being the man she not only respects, but fears losing. This is where the game changes. It's time to put your life in order once and for all. Number 5, ignoring is subcommunicating superiority, or how to make it clear who's really in control. Now let's get straight to the point that most people just don't get. Ignoring a woman, when done intelligently, is not just about crossing your arms and waiting for her to come crawling back. On the contrary, it's about subtly communicating that you're on a higher level. Yes, you read that right. Subcommunicating superiority. When you genuinely ignore someone without forcing it, without cheap games, you're sending a powerful message that says, I'm the prize here. I have options. You're not the last Coke in the desert. And, my friend, that message goes straight into the female subconscious like a cold shower. Because deep down, every woman wants what's not easily available. Now, here comes the big trick. You can't fake this. If you don't truly believe you're the prize, if you're not comfortable in that position of power, the whole thing collapses quickly. Women are incredibly intuitive when it comes to picking up on insecurities. They know, they feel it when you're just pretending to be confident, and nothing is more pathetic than a guy trying to be something he's not. The key here is in subcommunication. It's not about what you say, it's about what your silent actions communicate. If you're at peace with yourself, satisfied with the life you live, and not desperate for crumbs of attention, guess what? She will notice, and that speaks louder than any pretty words or forced actions. Now, do you want a harsh truth that society doesn't tell you? Women are attracted to men who know their own worth. Period. It doesn't matter how much the world tells you to be the nice guy, always available, always pleasing, always chasing. That's the exact recipe to become a dispensable accessory. Because at the end of the day, what they really want is someone who makes them feel like they need to win him over. Yes, my friend, the key to the game is making her work for your attention, not the other way around. And how do you do that? By stopping this habit of pleasing at all costs, of being the nice guy who's always there, ready for everything. That only puts you in a position of servitude, and servants aren't desired, they're used. Now, look at the scenario when you take control. You're focused on your life, your projects, your goals. You have ambitions, you have self-worth. You're not there to be validated by anyone, much less by her. When you internalize this, the power dynamic changes completely. She'll notice, and believe me, she won't like being in second place. She'll do everything to get back to the center of your attention, because this activates a basic instinct, wanting what she can't easily have. And here's something few people talk about. True superiority doesn't need to be shouted about. You don't need to rub it in her face that you're the prize, that you have options. It will already be implied in your actions and the way you behave. When you live your life as if you're not waiting for anyone's approval, as if you're at peace with your choices, she'll feel it. And that's when the game gets interesting, because she'll see that you're not just another guy begging for attention. No, you're the guy who makes her chase after you. Because at the end of the day, that's what they want. A challenge. Someone who's not always available. A man who knows he's the center of his own universe. Therefore, stop trying to impress. Stop seeking validation at any cost. The more you value yourself, the more you show that your life goes on without her, the more power you have in this dynamic. And deep down, that's what will make her obsessed. Not because you're playing some kind of game, but because you finally understood who's in control. Number 6, zero neediness, maximum attraction, or how to stop being desperate. Now, let's get to the cherry on top. And I want you to pay close attention, because this is the simplest truth, and at the same time, the hardest to accept. The man who truly attracts women is the one who doesn't need them. That's right, the guy who doesn't care if she's going to reply or not, if she's going to call or not, because he knows his own worth. And before you think this is arrogance, let me correct you. It's not arrogance, it's real self-confidence, the kind that comes from within, that doesn't depend on pats on the back or approving smiles. That's the guy who makes women chase after him. And it's not because he's playing some game of ignoring or anything like that. No, he doesn't need that. He simply lives his life fully, with his goals, his projects, and guess what? That makes women desperately want to be part of his world. It's the power of detachment, of self-sufficiency. The guy who's so centered on himself that their attention becomes just a detail, not the reason to live. Now don't be fooled. Any man can reach this level, as long as he's willing to work on himself. But of course, most prefer to remain desperate, living to get cheap attention. The truth is that when you focus on your own growth, on what really makes you better as a person, you start leaving that ridiculous neediness behind. You stop thinking that you need to impress, please, or conquer. And that's when the game changes. Because ironically, the less you need, the more you attract. At the end of the day, women can sense this. They can spot from afar when you're that guy who's begging for attention, or when you're the man who doesn't care. And you know what? They chase after the one who doesn't need them, because that's the man who's worth it. Number 7, the game of I don't need you. Now let's go to the next level. If you thought you were playing well up until now, get ready to understand the real game of I don't need you. And it's not just another technique, it's a total mindset shift. Most guys stay stuck in that ridiculous cycle of, I'll ignore her to see if she gets interested. That's a complete waste of time. The real key isn't in pretending not to care, but in genuinely not caring. The difference is massive. If you're only pretending deep down, you're still obsessed with the outcome. Will she notice me now? Will she reply? You already started off wrong. When you enter the game of true detachment, what she does or doesn't do becomes irrelevant. You're no longer trying to prove anything to anyone. Your life is already full enough without needing a woman's stamp of approval. What does she think? Who cares? Is she interested or not? Her problem. And here's the magic. When you internalize this state of zero expectations, you automatically become more attractive. Why? Because she'll feel that you're not trying to sell yourself, that you don't need her to validate your worth. And that makes you a mystery, a rarity, a challenge. The guy who doesn't care what women think is exactly the guy they all want. So stop making an effort to seem detached. Be truly detached. Live your life without spending energy on those who don't add value to you. And when you get to this point, believe me, you'll see women chasing after you without you having to lift a finger. Number 8, Stop being pathetic and take control of your life. The time has come for the truth. And look, it's not going to be easy to swallow, but you need to hear this once and for all. Stop being pathetic. That's right. Stop this nonsense of crawling for attention, begging for scraps of affection like a desperate little boy. You're throwing your dignity away, and worse, thinking you're playing some kind of game. You're not. You're sabotaging yourself. Do you really think anyone is going to respect you like this? Are you going to keep up that pathetic cycle of, did she notice me? Will she reply? My friend, wake up. Do you know what you've become? A predictable, boring guy who places the value of his own life on the approval of a woman who, deep down, is ignoring you because she can already smell how desperate you are. She senses neediness from miles away and treats you exactly as you behave, a guy who doesn't value himself. It's time to stop being that pathetic, needy guy and turn the game around for real. Or do you want to keep being the court jester? If you want something to change, then change yourself first. Stop waiting for external validation. You must be the center of your own life. Stop chasing after those who don't value you and start valuing yourself. Because if you don't do that, no one will do it for you. And you know what else? No one will feel sorry for you. If you keep going down this path, you'll just be another forgotten man with no value, no respect. And let me be clear, life doesn't wait for idiots who are content being the last option. If you're not the protagonist of your own story, you'll just be an extra in someone else's. So lift your head up and stop acting like you depend on someone else to be happy. Take control of your life or stay there, in your little world of mediocrity, waiting for the world to feel sorry for you. The choice is yours. But don't forget, no one respects a man who doesn't respect himself. The punch in the gut is this. If you keep this up, you'll be ignored, trampled on, and forgotten. Now decide, will you become the prize, or will you keep sinking in the mud of insignificance? So, if after all this you still haven't gotten the message, I'm sorry to tell you, the problem isn't that women ignore you, the problem is you. You need to stop humiliating yourself, stop acting like you're begging for attention. If you continue down this path, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering why things never change, why you always end up in the same place. The problem isn't them, it's you. Either you wake up and start behaving like someone who's worth it, or you'll go unnoticed, just another guy in the crowd of mediocre men. The choice is yours. Now, if you really want to turn things around, lift your head up, stop depending on the approval of those who don't deserve you, and become the man they want to win over. But it'll only happen when you decide you're not here to please anyone, much less to beg for attention. The world has no mercy for those who don't value themselves. So decide, are you going to be the man they want, or will you just keep being another guy? If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and share it with that friend who needs to hear this. And of course, you know it. Here, the truth is raw and unfiltered, no matter who it hurts. See you in the next video.